Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Love Meets Literature. We are officially on episode 10. We have made it into the double digits.
Woo, finally.
It's very exciting, and I'm very excited about today's episode. We will get more into that in a second, but I am your host, Rachel, and you can find me on Instagram at Paperbacks and Sketchbooks.
And I am your other host, Joe, and you can find us at Love Meets Literature.
Yes, you can find us everywhere at Love Meets Literature, so please do give us a follow. It will help get our podcast out there. So today's episode is going to be a tad similar to the Book of the Month Picks with a Twist episode that we have posted a few weeks ago, except today's is going to be with the Aardvark Book Club subscription picks. So we're still going to do the same kind of thing, the little game, gotta guess which pick the other person would choose for themselves. And it's a lot easier for me this time around because I already got my Aardvark box, so I know exactly what's in it, but Joe does not. So he better guess correctly what I got, otherwise I guess he doesn't really know me.
Yeah, I guess the pressure's on this time.
I'm very excited. I love Aardvark so much. They are a small business based out of Canada, and their social media team is amazing. I've had a couple issues with some Aardvark boxes in the past. For example, some books come a little beat up and I let them know, and they always offer to either send a new book or give me a free credit, which is really nice. They're super responsive.
Yeah, that is super nice.
But usually when that happens, I just ask for the credit because I don't really need a second book, because most of the time they're still readable, and what am I going to do with 2 copies of the same book?
Yeah, I guess that's true. I really like their website.
Yeah, their website's super nice, very user-friendly. It looks really good.
Yeah, I like they have a lot of nice little tiny UI touches and stuff. That's just very pleasing.
Yes, it is. And I also like that every month on Aardvark's Instagram, they post little hints of what their books are going to be, and they go like so in depth. They'll have like connect the dot hints where you can screenshot it and then draw on your phone connecting all the dots and see what the picture is. And you can kind of guess what book it will be based off that picture. They post the color schemes for every single book, because Aardvark's thing is that all of their naked hardcovers, the hardcovers without the dust jackets on, they're all different colors. They're very colorful.
Interesting.
So they do that. They give you a color scheme. They've been doing Spotify playlists, like these songs match the vibe of the book. And they've been doing destination, like this book is set in this place. It's taking you here.
That's super cool. They've, really gone in depth with that.
Yeah, it's really fun. So I love Aardvark. I'm an Aardvark stan. I do have to say that I love them more than Book of the Month. But Book of the Month has its own strengths. But maybe I'm just biased to Aardvark because I can't really think of anything good to say about Book of the Month right now.
Guess they got to step their game up.
Which they have. Book of the Month has been doing this sort of rebranding thing this past month. So for July, they launched not a new website, but an updated website. They updated their app so it looks more user-friendly. It looks more modern, refreshed, a new look. But the picks in itself are the same. Their social media is the same. So I'm just waiting to see if they do anything different. They also said their books are going to have a new look and feel. So I feel like they're kind of upping the quality of them to match Aardvark, because I feel like Aardvark is a higher quality book than a Book of the Month book.
I think that's fair. I mean, that's just good business, though, is, somebody else is doing what you're doing. So now you're going to try to up your game.
True. Book of the Month does have good competition with Aardvark. They're keeping each other on their toes.
I think that's a great thing from your standpoint, though, because you use both. So it's like if they're both just going to keep getting better, then there's really no way that can be a negative for you. I guess unless they start charging you more money, but...
Yeah, charging me more money would not be ideal, but I do understand that if you want to better your business, you sometimes have to up the prices.
It's an unfortunate reality.
It is, but here I am with both book subscriptions still. But today's episode focus will be on Aardvark. But before we jump into our Aardvark books for this month, How was your past reading week?
It was very good. I have kept to my goal of 30 minutes a day, with the exception of one day. So I have like, what is that? 80% completion rate, which
That's
is pretty
pretty
good.
good. Still trudging through Baptism of Fire.
Yes, I am over halfway through. It is, if you're somebody who does not like long chapters, they really wear you down because each chapter is, and I've mentioned it before, but they're like 40 to 50 pages. So there's only 7 chapters in a 350-page book.
Those are very long chapters.
Yeah. On average, this book I think has the longest. It was like 55 pages. It's very exhausting. They every once in a while will do like a perspective change or kind of like a time jump, like they'll jump to, I don't know, a couple of days in the future, and that makes for a good breaking point. But usually if you've hit that point, you want to know what's going to happen next. So then, you really have to dedicate like a solid hour and a half to just reading. So when I do my 30-minute stretches, I've found wherever there is a break, I should just take it and then wait until the next day. Makes it just a little bit easier for me. So maybe some days is only like closer to 20 minutes. Other days have been more of like a 37, 38-minute kind of thing. So
Well, that's good.
yes. How did your past reading week go?
Oh, it went fantastic. I finished 2 books. I finished the books I said I was going to finish last episode. So I finished Sable Peak by Devney Perry, and I finished An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. Sable Peak ended up being really good. I really enjoyed the ending of it. It wrapped up the Edens series very nicely, but it was also kind of bittersweet because it was like, it's over. It's over. I'm not going to hear about this family ever again. And over 6 books, you grow kind of attached to the characters.
Yeah.
So that was bittersweet, but I loved how it all played out. And then An Offer from a Gentleman is the 3rd Bridgerton book. And it was that Cinderella reimagining that I mentioned last episode. And that ended up being really good. I don't think it's my favorite of the 3 books that I've read so far, just because our male main character, Benedict, was a little hot-headed and he didn't always treat Sophie well. He was kind of manipulative at times, but Sophie was a great female main character. And the whole, like, there was this one revenge scene sort of at the end where, spoiler alert, close your ears if you don't want to hear this, but Sophie punched her evil stepmother in the face in the London jail because the evil stepmother accused Sophie of stealing her wedding ring, which Sophie never stole. But if you were a thief back then, they just arrested you and they sent you off to Australia because that was a giant prison. So Sophie got really mad, and obviously Benedict and his mom came to her defense because they were like, there's no way she could have stolen it. We believe in her integrity. But Sophie it just all got to her, and she smacked her evil stepmother right in the face.
That is pretty nice. Good revenge there.
Yeah, it was great revenge, and I really loved it. And I also loved that we got to see more of the Bridgerton family matriarch. We got to see more of Violet Bridgerton, and we saw how she treated all of her servants and her kids and just, people coming over to her house. And she's a very kind-hearted person, which was like a breath of fresh air after having to read about this evil stepmother character in this book.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to continuing on with the next book. So that was my reading week. I'd say it was pretty good. Knocked 2 books out, and it's only the beginning of July.
Yeah, it's a great start.
Yes, it is. But aside from reading, how was your past normal week?
As you know, I had a bit of a failure in the kitchen for the first time in quite some time.
Oh, yes. Oh, the cornbread. That was so sad.
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing. So I made, according to Babish's cookbook, The Basics with Babish, the Southern style cornbread, and I made it in the cast iron pan with, it's like cornmeal and lard and eggs and all this kind of stuff. And I think I know what I did wrong. I'm pretty sure. I have an inkling at least at this point. But what ultimately ended up happening was the crust stuck to the bottom and it did not release like it was supposed to. And so now we just have a bag of crumbled up cornbread in the fridge because I can't bring myself to throw it away because I don't want to waste the food, but it does not taste good.
No, it's not the best, but it wasn't horrible. Like, it was still edible, but it wasn't the tastiest thing I've ever had.
Yeah, I definitely didn't put enough salt in it, so that was a lesson. But the cooking of it was total miss. If it had the integrity of the crust, it probably would be easily put some butter on there or honey or something to make it taste better. But since it doesn't have the crust, it just falls apart as soon as you try to really do anything with it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's like, I don't know, something more you could add to it to give it more flavor. Because, I mean, he does say in the cookbook it's supposed to be a little bland because it is Southern style and you're supposed to dip it in stuff.
Right. I think it was way too bland, though. Like, I don't think I put enough salt in it, which made the rest of it just not taste like anything. It literally just tasted like, well, cornmeal pretty much.
Well, I wonder if you could add sugar to it. I wonder if that would ruin it.
Maybe, I don't know. Could maybe put a little bit in there. I'm not sure how much is normally put into normal cornbread.
Yeah, I don't know either because we're used to the super sweet,
Yeah.
sugary, buttery Cracker Barrel cornbread.
Yeah. Which has probably, like 4 cups of sugar in that
It's
batter.
probably not good for you at all.
But it tastes so good.
Oh, it's so good. But maybe next time you try this cornbread recipe, you can make like a gravy or a sauce to dip it in or something.
I was thinking like a honey butter would be good
Ooh, that would be really good.
to put on top because then it's going to be like nice and sweet like we're used to.
Yes. Yes. Also, I think your cast iron needs to be seasoned a little bit more.
I was thinking about doing another layer on it. I don't think the first one I did was enough.
You might have to just like double or triple the seasoning so that way you don't have a sticky situation.
Clever. I did read last night, actually, after I was doing a little more research about it. It appears that they recommend you do the seasoning at least 3 times total.
Okay.
I'm probably going to do at least 2 more.
That'd probably be good.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at that pan and it just looked a little dry.
Yeah, it doesn't have that layer. You should almost, when you kind of touch it, you should be able to feel it. And this just feels like cast iron right now. Doesn't feel like it's got that layer of seasoning on there.
Yes, but practice makes perfect. So you'll just try again.
That's true. It is a bit of an art, both with cooking, baking, and then also just cast irons in general.
I can't imagine. That's out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah. I don't love using cast iron. I would actually prefer like stainless steel most of the time, but there's something to it. I really like that cast irons are extremely versatile. Like you can just throw it right into the oven, which is super nice, but there's also the upkeep with, which I didn't do, and so now I have to reseason and everything.
Well, you'll get there.
I will. What did you do this past normal week?
I feel like I did a whole lot of nothing. I didn't really do much.
That's fair. Nothing wrong with that.
I worked and I read and I cleaned. I did my normal stuff in my normal week.
There you go. Sometimes that's all you can ask for.
I guess that's a win. But I'm definitely looking forward to possibly getting out of the house this weekend.
Yeah, we got to get out of the house a little bit.
I've been cooped up and I hate being stuck in the house.
Yeah, I know you do.
And it rained, so we couldn't go on our newly established daily after work walk.
That's true. And it was a bad rain too.
So it's not like I was going to go outside and get drenched just for the sake of this walk.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one.
I will also pass on that one. But I got some good hammock time in. That was good. Usually it's hard for me to get hammock time in during the weekdays. But I had a chance because it's been slow with a holiday coming up. I know this episode is being released way after the 4th of July, but as we're recording this, it is the day before the 4th of July. Just for clarity, it's how podcasting works, people.
The day before the 4th of July, also known as the 3rd of July.
Yes, but you know.
I just thought it was funny.
So I had a normal week. You had a cornbread catastrophe of a week. And I just have to ask you this random question. If you were a book genre, what genre would you be?
That's a good question. I think I kind of have like two thoughts about this. One is like, which one would I want to be? And then which one do I think like I am currently?
Okay, well, what genre do you aspire to be?
I feel like I would want to be an adventure.
You want to be an adventure? Do you want to be like an epic? You want to be
Yeah.
one
Like
of those?
something like when people think about me, they think of like fun and adventure and traveling and doing things.
Do you want to be like an Indiana Jones movie?
Kind of, yeah. That's like what I'm thinking. Like, I guess an action adventure would kind of be, you think like of spontaneity.
Okay, that's a book genre, action and adventure.
However, what do I think I am currently?
Yeah, what are you? You're definitely not action and adventure.
If there's a book genre for like couch potato, I think that might be me.
Let's see, what would that be?
Is there like a sedentary genre?
There is not a sedentary genre because I don't even know what you would write about.
What was that? I think it was a movie, but I also think it was a book. The one where the woman is trapped inside because she's like a germaphobe. I'm not a germaphobe, but the one where she forces herself to stay inside all the time.
Is that The Woman in the Window?
Yeah, I think that's it.
That was a psychological thriller, I believe, but you're not a psychological thriller.
No, probably not.
You're a mystery.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
You could be a literary fiction where you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life.
That probably sounds more accurate to what I am right now. Yeah.
Yeah, like a lit fic.
Lit fic. That's a fun phrase.
It is a fun phrase, but the books are usually they usually have very flowery writing. They usually take a long time to get to the point. I guess that sounds like you.
Yeah, that might be me.
All right, you are a literary fiction novel who wants to be an action and adventure novel.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up, I think, my personality. I think if you were to do a bit of an analysis on that, you'd find out more than I would care to admit. What about you?
Well, this is a really hard question for me. I know I'm the one that came up with the question, but it's hard for me to decide what genre I would be because I want to say contemporary fiction, but contemporary fiction is just a whole lot of nothing happening. It's like usually just realistic day to day, which I guess is what I am. The contemporary fiction genre would fit me nicely.
I guess I could see that because you are very like grounded in reality. So
Yes, but I would want to be, what genre would I want to be? If time traveling existed, I would want to be a historical fiction.
I was going to say, I think you like fit the bill for historical fiction strictly because you like to have your facts straight.
Yes, I do enjoy facts. I enjoy going to museums and learning about history. I just wish I could travel back in time to these decades.
I think that'd be cool if you could do like, I always imagined the Magic School Bus, how they like, just drop by and see something. Like I wouldn't want to be sent back to like the 50s and live there. I would just want to like be an omniscient observer or something.
I always wanted to be in the Magic School Bus.
That, yeah. I mean, come on. Everybody does.
I have very vivid memories of being a small child, like 5, 6 years old, sitting in the waiting room at the doctor's office, and they would just play reruns of the Magic School Bus.
Yeah, that feels like a very universal experience.
Yes, even in the dentist's office, they used to have this little kids' playroom, and they would either always play the Magic School Bus or the Land Before Time.
Oh, see, for me, it was always Magic School Bus or Arthur. For some reason, that was on like 24/7. All the dentist's office or doctor's office didn't matter.
Arthur was a good one. I used to wake up really early in the morning, back when I was a morning person as a small child, and watch Arthur episodes on PBS.
It was a good show.
It was a really good show. I loved Arthur. I don't know what happened to the show. Haven't seen it in years.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if it's still airing new episodes. I think last I heard it was. Or maybe I heard that it was having its last new episode.
I have no idea. I don't know anybody with kids.
Yeah, neither do I. But I do feel like kids these days, they're growing up with like Bluey and Coco Melon.
Yeah.
But we grew up with Arthur.
What was that other one that had a bunch of controversy? Caillou.
I don't understand how that's controversial.
Allegedly, the kid, Caillou, I think is his name,
Yeah, Caillou.
he acts like a brat, I guess, a lot. Like he talks back to his parents and such. And I think it was supposed to be for like kind of witty writing, but a lot of kids were, it made an impression on them. So parents had associated their kid acting out and throwing tantrums with watching Caillou.
Well, my parents let me watch Caillou, and I feel like I was a fairly well-behaved child.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know. This is all allegedly.
All allegedly. Well, what was I talking about? The Magic School Bus.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
I pulled us off a little bit. My bad.
The Magic School Bus. Yes, if I could, I would sit in the Magic School Bus and have it take me anywhere I wanted to go, even inside a whale's stomach.
A whale's stomach?
Wasn't there an episode where they went inside some whale, or they went inside some kid's nose, or they went inside somewhere nasty?
They went in, what was his name? Freddie or something? The kid that never wants to go on the Magic School Bus. The like one day that Miss Frizzle let him stay home, she went into his ear and they went and like looked at his colon and stuff.
Yeah, that was the nasty episode.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm only, 6, but I don't need to see what the inside of someone's ear looks like.
Yeah. I just remember the baseball episode so vividly when they're playing on the frictionless like baseball field.
I feel like the Magic School Bus also taught you like a lot of science-y facts.
That was the goal, yeah. I think that was like their reasoning for it being on the Learning Channel.
I don't know what channel it was on.
One of them that you learned from. That's all I know.
I guess we've established if I was a genre, I would be contemporary fiction. But if I could be any genre, I would want to be historical fiction.
I think that's a fair assessment. I would agree with that.
Yes, it makes sense why I gravitate towards contemporary and historical fiction books a lot. But getting into this episode, we are going to be talking about the Aardvark book subscription picks for the month of July, which I am super excited to go over. I love Aardvark. I could talk about Aardvark all day long. And fun fact, did you know that they are called Aardvark because aardvark is the first word in the English dictionary?
That is a fun fact.
It is a fun fact, and I feel like it's one not a lot of people know. I bet if you went up to a random person on the street and you asked, what is the very first word in the English dictionary? They would say like apple or something.
I would probably say ace if I was asked.
Well, you are smarter than most people on the street.
Thank you. I would take that as a great compliment.
I just feel like if someone were to ask me that question on the street, and I didn't already know that it was Aardvark, I probably would stand there and just be like, I have no idea.
I think if you gave me, before knowing that, I think if you gave me like 5 guesses, I still never would have guessed Aardvark. I didn't know that it was spelled with 2 A's.
You didn't?
No.
You don't remember the song from Arthur, Aardvark?
I don't.
Because they're aardvarks?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Arthur is an aardvark.
Really?
Yeah, in the actual books, he has the long aardvark snout, but in the show, it was too scary. So that's why he doesn't look like an aardvark.
Oh, I do remember seeing something about that now. You jogged my memory. I always thought they were bears for the longest time.
So did I until my school library. I think it was when we were in 4th grade. They did some sort of feature on Arthur, and we watched interviews with Mark Brown, the creator of Arthur, and he was explaining that they were aardvarks, and we were all like, what? They're bears. They're not aardvarks. So it was just interesting to see, because Aardvark has been around Arthur has been around forever.
Aardvarks have been around for probably a lot longer than Arthur.
Probably, but it's just so interesting that they're aardvarks.
That is true. I never made the connection. I know I've learned that fact somewhere, but it exists way back in the depths of my brain somewhere.
Yeah, they're all different animals on Arthur.
Oh yeah, because his friend's the rabbit.
Buster Baxter.
That's a Buster. Good name.
I know, I love Buster. Anyway, back to Aardvark, the book subscription. They have a lot of really great picks this month, and honestly, it was hard for me to decide which one I would choose. But alas, you have to decide which one I will pick, and I have to decide which one you will pick, and we have to get them correct. Otherwise, it just proves that we don't really know each other at all.
All right, lot of pressure again.
We did a really great job with the book of the month episode when we did this kind of thing. We both guessed each other's books correctly on the first try.
That's true.
So we can do it again.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, so what is our first Aardvark pick?
Our first one is called The Unraveling by V. Keeland. This is a thriller, and here's a quick description. After experiencing a terrible loss, New York City psychiatrist Meredith McCall feels painfully adrift. When she crosses paths with a man whom she has a tragic connection, she follows him, sparking an unhealthy obsession with Gabriel Wright. How is he doing so well while her life is in shambles? When Gabriel walks into her office as a patient, seemingly unaware of who she is, she knows it crosses all ethical and moral bounds to treat him, yet Meredith can't bring herself to turn him away and becomes further entangled. With her life and career continuing to unravel, it appears that things could not get any worse until they do.
Well, that leaves it on a very ominous note.
It does. This one feels very suspenseful to me.
Well, it is a thriller.
That's true.
But I think this one sounds very interesting, especially because our main character, it seems, is a psychiatrist. And I feel like whenever we have psychiatrists in thriller books, it always leads for something very, very bad.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Like I've read a lot of thrillers in my lifetime, and usually when you have a character who does some sort of thing with mental health, nothing good ever happens.
Yeah, I mean, they've got that extra layer of like understanding. So it definitely seems like there's going to be some serious manipulation happening in this one.
Probably. So our next Aardvark pick is one that I've had my eye on for quite some time. Is a novel love story by Ashley Poston. And this one is romance and magical realism. So we have Eileen Merriweather, who loves to get lost in a good happily ever after. The fictional kind anyway, because at least imaginary men don't leave you at the altar. She feels safe in a book at home, which might be why she's so set on going to her annual book club retreat this year. She needs good friends, cheap wine, and grand romantic gestures, no matter what. But when her car unexpectedly breaks down on the way, she finds herself stranded in a quaint town that feels like it's right out of a novel, because it is. This place can't be real, and yet she's here, in Aloriton, the town of her favorite romance series, where the candy store's honey taffy is always sweet, the local bar's burgers are always a little burnt, and rain always comes in the afternoon. It feels like home. It's perfect and perfectly frozen, trapped in the late author's last unfinished story. Elsie is sure that's why she must be here, to help bring the town to its storybook ending. Except there is a character in Aloriton that she can't place. A grumpy bookstore owner with mint green eyes, an irritatingly sexy mouth, and impeccable taste in novels. And he does not want her finishing this book. Which is a problem because Elsie is beginning to think the town's happily ever after might just be intertwined with her own. Okay, this sounds very, very interesting. I love the concept of her actually being stuck in this unfinished novel. Like, can you imagine?
Yeah, that's a very interesting concept for a book.
You're stuck in an unfinished novel. Obviously, you haven't read it because it's unfinished, so you don't know how it ends and you don't know how you're going to get out.
Yeah, that's deeply concerning, depending on which kind of book you were reading before you got to the end there.
But it sounds very good. I haven't read any Ashley Poston before, so I don't actually know what her writing style is like. But I've been seeing this one all over Bookstagram, and people really, really love it. I've also been getting more into magical realism, so it really intrigues me that this is a blend of romance and magical realism.
Definitely.
Any thoughts?
I think the premise of the story is very cool. The idea of being lost and trapped in the book you were reading, which is a little bit, I don't know if like on the nose is the right term, but I know a lot of people want that. They would love to get stuck in a book that they were reading. So it's kind of like a fun idea too. And I'd be curious on which way it goes, if it's a little bit more suspenseful as it's kind of led on here, or if it's just a little more fun and romantic.
Definitely.
Our next one is called The Stardust Grail by Yume Kitase. This is a mystery and science fiction. Maya Hashimoto was once the best art thief in the galaxy. For 10 years, she returned stolen artifacts to alien civilizations until a disastrous job forced her into hiding. Now she just wants to enjoy a quiet life as a graduate student of anthropology, but she's haunted by persistent and disturbing visions of the future. Then, an old friend comes to her with a job she can't refuse: find a powerful object that could save an alien species from extinction, except no one has seen it in living memory, and they aren't the only ones hunting for it. Maya sets out on a breakneck quest through a universe teeming with strange life and ancient ruins. But the farther she goes, the more her visions cast a dark shadow over her team of friends, new and old. Someone will betray her along the way. Worse yet, in choosing to save one species, she may condemn humanity and Earth itself. This one seems fun.
It does. I'm usually not a sci-fi person. I steer away from all books that say they are science fiction because my brain cannot handle it. But this one, like, they got me at the first sentence. The best art thief in the galaxy?
Right, that's a big claim.
That is a big claim, and this sounds like it's going to be a super adventurous story.
Yeah, I definitely think the premise of this story is pretty unique, actually. I don't really think of any other stories where the thief is returning items, with like the exception of the big one, Robin Hood, but it's not a very common topic for someone to write about.
Yeah, I also love the cover of this book. The cover of this book is really cool.
I don't think I saw that one. I'll have to look at it.
It's like blue and red, and like it looks like a galaxy.
I did see that one. It had like the tentacles coming out of the background.
Yeah, it was super creepy, but also intriguing.
Yeah, I do remember that one now.
I'm a cover lover. I mostly choose books based on their cover. I'm trying to steer away from that, which I feel like I've been doing a pretty good job. But usually if your book has an uninteresting cover, in my opinion, I will usually not race to pick it up.
It's like the curb appeal.
It is the curb appeal, which is why so many publishers are now looking for feedback on covers. Like on NetGalley, this isn't something that it's probably been a feature on NetGalley for years, but I just recently noticed it. They have you can thumbs up or thumbs down the book cover that they have on NetGalley.
That's fun. I like that idea.
Yeah, so like if I were a publisher and I had like so many thumbs down on a book cover, I'd be like, okay, we need to change it.
Right.
Our next Aardvark pick is Masquerade by O.O. Sangoyomi, and this is a historical fantasy. Ododo's hometown of Timbuktu has been conquered by the warrior king of Yorubaland, and living conditions for the women in her blacksmith guild, who were already shunned as social pariahs, grow even worse. Then Ododo is abducted. She is whisked across the Sahara to the capital city of Sangote, where she is shocked to discover that her kidnapper is none other than the vagrant who had visited her guild just days prior. But now that he is swathed in riches rather than rags, Ododo realizes he is not a vagrant at all. He is the warrior king, and he has chosen her to be his wife. In a sudden change of fortune, Ododo soars to the very heights of society. But after a lifetime of subjugation, she finds the power that saturates this world of battle and political savvy too enticing to resist. As tensions with rival states grow, revealing elaborate schemes and enemies hidden in plain sight, Ododo must defy the cruel king she has been forced to wed by reforging the shaky loyalties of the court in her favor, or risk losing everything, including her life. This is loosely based on the myth of Persephone, and this book will take you on a journey of epic power struggles and political intrigue, which turn an entire region on its head.
I really like the idea of it being loosely based on the myth of Persephone. I think that's going to be a very interesting perspective for this book.
I don't know the myth of Persephone.
The myth of Persephone, in a very quick synopsis, from what I remember, is Persephone was or did get captured or kidnapped by Hades. He forced her to get married, and then he would only ever let Persephone come up to visit her mother in the spring, which is why all the plants grow and bloom. And then he forces her to go back to the underworld in the fall, which is why all the plants die off, I guess.
Interesting. Well, regardless of whether I know the myth of Persephone or not, this book sounds really good. I love historical fiction and I love fantasy, and it just seems different. And I'm trying to read different things. So this sounds like it could be like a saga. It's going to take me on a journey.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, especially with the sort of myth undertones. It feels deep for sure.
Well, and it seems like this girl's abduction is kind of like the main focus of the story. So I'd like to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I also thought it was very interesting that she's in the blacksmith guild.
Yes, that's so cool for a woman. And I mean, maybe this is what they did back then. I don't exactly know what time period this takes place in, but it is labeled as historical fantasy. So there must have been some point in time where women were actually in a blacksmith guild in Timbuktu.
Possibly.
Sounds very, very interesting.
All right, on to the next one. This one is Whoever You Are, Honey by Olivia Gatwood. This is a literary fiction and sci-fi. What happens when what was once considered dystopia is now reality? On the Santa Cruz, California waterfront, every house is a flawless glass monolith, except for one. In a dilapidated bungalow, Mitty and her elderly roommate, Bethel, are the oddball pair who represent the last vestiges of a free-spirited town taken over by the tech elite. But their lives are about to be forever changed when a new couple, Sebastian and Lena, move in next door.
Can I interrupt for a second? This is already kind of sounding like that movie that Harry Styles was in that was directed by Olivia Wilde. Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh, yeah.
This kind of is giving off that vibe so far.
Yeah, I do. I remember that one now. I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, it's not very memorable, but reading the synopsis just sparked that in my brain.
Sebastian is a renowned tech founder, and Lena is his spellbindingly perfect girlfriend. But Lena has secrets. She feels uneasy about her oddly spotty memory and is growing increasingly wary of the way Sebastian controls their relationship. Mitty is also hiding something, and the way Lena appears to float through her luxurious life draws Mitty inexorably into her orbit. As the two women begin to form a close relationship, they are finally forced to face their past and the urgent truths that could change everything. Showcasing Olivia Gatwood's talent as an essential author for our hyper-digital age, Whoever You Are, Honey is a gripping, seductive, and persistent novel that dissects relationships between women and examines how striving for perfection and desirability plays out in spaces where technology and power intersect.
This kind of sounds like it might be like more of like a case study on how technology is interrupting the world as we know it.
I remember reading on the page, it mentions like AI in there somewhere, and I'm very curious if that has an effect or is maybe an important topic in the book. So this one definitely seems interesting too.
It does seem interesting.
I'm also very curious. It feels like there's going to be quite a bit of like a suspense, maybe thriller portion in it, because there's a lot of like unknowns and untold. So I'm curious exactly if that's kind of in there as well.
Well, it mentions the very first line that you read, what happens when what was once considered dystopia is now reality. That gives off very much 1984 vibes.
Yeah, that's super true.
Because 1984, it's like Big Brother's always watching you. Well, Big Brother's always watching us now.
Right.
So it's kind of like the dystopia did become reality. So this book is probably going to talk about that.
Yeah, it is very like forefront. I'm curious if it's going to be like sort of told right now in a sense.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be good. So our final Aardvark pick is I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones, and this is horror. 1989 La Mesa, Texas, a small West Texas town driven by oil and cotton, and a place where everyone knows everyone else's business. So it goes for Tully Driver, a good kid with more potential than application, 17, and about to be cursed to kill for revenge. Here, Stephen Graham Jones explores the Texas he grew up in, the unfairness of being on the outside, through the slasher horror he lives, but from the perspective of the killer, Tully, writing his own autobiography. Find yourself rooting for a killer in this summer teen movie of a novel gone full blood-curdling tragic.
This may sound weird, but this one almost seems kind of fun.
It probably will be fun, but did it say it's told from the point of view of the killer?
Right.
Huh.
The killer writing their own autobiography.
Interesting.
That's where I think the fun aspect might come from it.
Interesting. You don't get many books that are told from the perspective of the villain.
Yeah, it's pretty uncommon.
So that one would be interesting to read. All right, so we have gone through all 6 Aardvark book subscription options for the month of July. To recap, we have The Unraveling by V. Keeland. We have A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. The Stardust Grail by Yumi Kitase. Masquerade by Oo Sangoyomi. Whoever You Are, Honey by Olivia Gatwood. And I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. So the moment has come to decide which book do we think each other will pick.
All right, I have a couple of thoughts.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
So I feel like there's an obvious choice on here that you would pick. However, I'm trying to not second guess myself and be like, well, it's too obvious.
Well, it's hard because sometimes I'm unpredictable.
Right, because you're a mood reader. So you might something might strike you and you'll just go for that. So the question is, do you go for the obvious choice, or do I try to like put myself in the mood of when you made the choice? Actually, that's a good idea. When did you choose?
I chose when the Aardvark books were released on July 1st.
Okay. What time?
It was before I got out of bed.
In the morning?
Yeah, it was like 9 a.m.
Did you get a good night's sleep that night?
I was a little groggy.
Okay. That affects the choice, people. Trust me.
I was a little groggy, but I had it in me to sit and read through the synopsis. Well, also, you have to keep in mind that I am a cover lover. So
That's
in my groggy state, I was more drawn to the covers.
You know what? I'm pulling up the link right now. I believe Whoever You Are, Honey is also a debut novel, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that makes it even more interesting. I love these book subscriptions because they feature a lot of debut authors, and they also feature a lot of new releases and early releases. So the book you're getting is usually not one that has been out to the public for long, and it might be a book that isn't even available to the public yet.
Yeah, it's definitely a big appeal.
And that's why I subscribe to both Aardvark and Book of the Month.
I'm like, I know people can't tell, but I'm currently looking at the books and I'm deciding, I'm like ruling ones out. I'm like, she wouldn't have liked that one at, I don't know, 8 a.m. or whenever you got up that morning.
Well, it can't be that hard of a decision.
Okay. I think I'm just going to go with the one, like my original guess. I'm going to say A Novel Love Story.
Wrong.
Okay. Give me another one.
What was your second guess?
Is it Whoever You Are, Honey?
No, it wasn't.
Really?
Wrong.
Did you go for the Masquerade?
I did go for Masquerade.
Wow. You know, it is a very pretty cover.
Right?
I gotta say that.
It just sounded so interesting too. Historical fiction, fantasy, combine them together, women blacksmiths in Timbuktu.
You know, see, what it got me was like, it was either going to be a novel love story because of the romance and the magical realism.
I almost chose that one. Almost. So you're not completely wrong that I would choose it. I almost chose it, and I almost got it as an add-on because I've really been wanting to read it, but then I got scared that I wouldn't like it.
I think that's fair. But the other one, Definitely was Masquerade. The only reason I changed my answer to Whoever You Are, Honey, was because I was looking at the cover right now. I was like, maybe this would appeal to her.
I do like the cover, and I definitely do want to read that book, and I definitely will be checking it out of the library. But because I'm not always a big dystopian fan, I did not put it in my box.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So, yep, I got Masquerade by O.O. Sangoyomi, and I'm very excited for it. And I'll probably read it the second it comes in.
That's good.
Or maybe not, because I'm a mood reader.
Unfortunately, it looks like it's over. We're done. I didn't guess the right book.
Yeah, you don't really know me at all.
Yeah, I guess, you know what? I'm going to buckle down. I'm going to study harder. I'll get it next time.
Study my reading and book purchasing habits.
Yeah, I'm going to be like a bird watcher. I'm going to get binoculars and sit across the room from you and just stare at you and take notes, you know?
That would be kind of annoying, honestly. I'd be like, stop staring at me.
You know, like the SpongeBob meme where he's like, write that down, write that down. That's going to be me and Peaches.
She already stares at me all the time.
Yeah, she does. All right, what book do you think I would pick?
Well, I already know which ones you won't pick. But, I'm not even going to really second guess myself. I think you are going to pick The Stardust Grail by Yumi Kitase.
Yeah, pretty much. I wear my picks on my sleeve.
You do?
I have a very specific taste, so. And I've mentioned before that heists are like my favorite thing. That's maybe not the right word, but like movies and books and shows and games and all that kind of stuff that revolve around them, I love them.
Yeah, and this one has the main character. She's an art thief. So it just seemed like a very you book. Like if it were a movie and it came out in theaters, you'd be running to the theater to watch it.
I would absolutely watch this, yeah, for sure.
Yay, I guessed correctly. It looks like I know you.
Yep, I guess you don't have to do any studying this week.
So Aardvark had a bunch of great picks, and we chose some great picks for ourselves, and I'm excited to see what these book boxes have in store for the month of August.
Yes, definitely.
But that was a lot of book talk, so I gotta know, what are you currently obsessed with?
Besides obsessing over the cornbread failure, I would say this week I'm still pretty obsessed with lockpicking.
Okay.
I've been practicing more, and I want to get a real lock to try out, because right now I just have training ones. So I think it's been very fun. It's a very interesting skill.
It just seems like something that would be very hard to master.
Yeah, I definitely think it's there's a very fine line to get it figured out. I just think especially now, since I've really been focusing and trying harder, there's such a satisfaction to it. It's like solving a puzzle every time you do it.
Well, I mean, isn't it basically just a puzzle? Because you were mentioning last episode, I remembered some information about lockpicking. Aren't all these pins things that line up, and you kind of have to get them all a certain way for it to unlock?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's basically just a puzzle.
That is a puzzle.
It's very fun. I think it's a cool skill, and for some reason I am still obsessed with it, at least for now.
Well, we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, that's true. Good thing I only spent $25 on it or something. But anyway, what are you obsessed with this week?
I am obsessed with I'm obsessed with Peach's big belly, but I'm also obsessed with this iPhone app game that I came across last night, Fruit Merger. And you basically just plop the fruits down in this box and match them together until you create a giant watermelon.
That game was, I remember it. It had made its circulations around YouTube and things.
Well, it's circulating again. I got an ad for it when I was playing Candy Crush, and I lost all my lives in Candy Crush, so I didn't have anything else to do and I couldn't fall asleep. So I decided to look up this Fruit Merger game, and I didn't download the Fruit Merger one that was advertised to me because it had really bad reviews. So I kept scrolling. There's so many different Fruit Merger app games, but they're all basically the same thing. So I just downloaded the one that had the most reviews in the App Store and the one that had the most reviews saying it didn't have a boatload of ads.
That's fair.
So I got this one, and it's very cute. It's very user-friendly. It's been working very well. And I'm very tempted to pay the $5 one-time fee to get rid of the ads.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where I'll be playing a phone game and I get the itch to just pay it so I don't have to worry about ads anymore.
But you see, I almost did it impulsively last night, but then I realized all day today until around 3 p.m., I forgot that I even downloaded this app. I paid it no thought all day. So I'm like, maybe it's a good thing I didn't waste my $5.
Yeah, that's true. It would have been $5 just thrown to the void.
So we'll see. If I forget about this app tomorrow, then I'm not paying the $5.
I think I can agree with that logic.
But if I'm playing it 3 days in a row and I really can't stop thinking about it, it's $5. So Fruit Merger, definitely one of my favorite apps right now. It's just so cute. You merge the apples and the oranges and the cherries and the blueberries. They turn into coconuts and stuff, and then peaches and watermelons. And it's just something about it is just so addicting.
It's the race or the climb to get the watermelon, you know?
I guess so. I got the watermelon once last night and then I couldn't get it again. It's really hard.
That's the addicting part of the video game when they can make that goal just out of reach.
Yeah, and you have to keep beating your high score.
Yeah, that too.
So that's fun. But anyway, enough about Fruit Merger. What are you reading this week?
I am still reading The Baptism of Fire. I'm almost done. My plan is to be done before our next episode.
Ooh, and then what are you going to start reading? The next Witcher book?
I'll probably go right into the next Witcher book. This one is definitely starting to pick up pretty heavily, and I'm very interested in what's going to happen next. So, yeah, it'll probably be the next Witcher book.
I am currently reading The Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan, which that name might sound familiar because I read the first book in this duology, The Daughter of the Moon Goddess, about a month ago. And I really enjoyed it. It does combine Chinese mythology and this fictional story. So it's really fun. And I am enjoying The Heart of the Sun Warrior more than Daughter of the Moon Goddess so far. It's just more exciting right off the bat. But we got all the world building done in the first book. So now we can really jump into the action. And there's already been this big reveal, 70 pages in. And I'm just like, wow. And I must keep reading. It's so good.
Yeah, that's fun when all the world building is already established, so you can just jump right into it.
Right. And it is sort of reminding me a little bit of what happened in the first book. Some stuff I'm like, wait, why does she hate that guy? But then it explains it right after I have that thought. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah, it is good. It's not too over explanatory. She just touches on it a little bit. So it's not like I have to sit through the first book for the first 100 pages of this book.
Right, exactly. You don't have to do the whole flashback phase.
Yeah, I don't have to do the continuous recap like they're doing in Baptism of Fire.
Yeah, trust me. I know.
So I'm excited to keep reading that. And then this is my last library book that I have checked out, which means I can start on my mid-year goal of reading my shelves.
Good.
Yes, so I'm excited about that. I don't know which book I'm going to read first. I should read that book that you told me to read first, The Perfect Husband by Lisa Gardner.
Yeah, you should read that one.
I haven't read a good thriller in so long. I feel like I'm itching for a good thriller.
I keep getting that one pitched to me whenever I have a book deal or a audiobook deal. It's always that book.
It must be a good book then. I mean, Lisa Gardner, she's a great writer. I read her Frankie Elkin series. I mean, it's only 3 books in that series so far, but I read those 3 books and I really enjoyed them. I think the second book, One Step Too Far, is my favorite of the Frankie Elkin books of hers. The third one that just came out, I can't even remember what it's called. It's my least favorite. It just wasn't as well done as the first 2. But I'm looking forward to exploring more of Lisa Gardner's books because I know she is a best-selling author and a lot of people really, really love her. And I believe The Perfect Husband is the start of a series. So because I own the first book, if it is a series, I'm going to have to buy all the other books.
There you go. You got some shelves to fill up anyway.
I do have shelves to fill. It's so exciting. I've never had empty shelves to really fill up before. Every time I've gotten a new shelf, I've just immediately filled it.
Yeah, it's always because of backlog. You get the shelf and then it's all full immediately the next day.
I know. I'm just trying to not hold on to books that I don't love anymore. If I don't love a book that I own, I'll just pop it on my Pango store and hope somebody buys it. So then I have Pango books to buy new books.
I think that's a good philosophy to have.
Yes, but I have had a huge stack just sitting on the ground for a while now. So if they're not sold in like the next month, I'll probably just donate them.
I think that's fair too.
If we had a half price books near us, I would just go sell them there and get their store credit or whatever.
Yeah, unfortunately, the closest one is quite a few towns over.
It is, which is really annoying because I'm not going to drive that far just to sell some used books.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyways, I think this was a fantastic episode. I always love book subscription reveal day. It's my favorite day of the month. So super fun to talk about Aardvark picks. I am looking forward to getting to read Masquerade. I do have that box actually coming in the mail. And I'm looking forward to finishing off all my library loans so I can read my shelves. That'll be really fun.
Yes, that's the most exciting part.
What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to finishing this Witcher book. I really just want to get it out of my way at this point.
You've been reading it forever.
It's been way too long, so I'm just going to dedicate the time to getting it done, and then we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to take a break. It depends on how this book ends, if I'll take a break from the Witcher series and try something else, or if it gets really good at the end, maybe I'll just keep diving into it. We'll see.
Sometimes I feel like my love for a series reignites after I take a break from it for a little bit.
Well, I was thinking if he's just going to keep doing the recap thing, then I definitely could take a break because I'm certainly not going to forget it because he's just going to tell me it all over again anyway.
That is so funny. So funny.
We'll see.
But anyway, I am itching to go read more Heart of the Sun Warrior, and you got to work through this Witcher book already. So I think it's time we sign off, and I hope everybody had a fabulous 4th of July, and happy reading.